Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, March 24th, 2016. I'm Keith Tebow. On this week's show, we talk to two community leaders about the continuing opioid epidemic plaguing our area. We give you an update on the Route 79 Duval Street project and provide details about an upcoming fundraiser to help prevent child abuse in our area. We'll also have a special Easter message from Bishop Edgar DeCunha. But first, let's kick things off as we do with Will Richmond, digital news editor at the Herald News, to talk about the news headlines of the week. Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How's it going?
Good. I'm glad to be back this week. I had the week off last week. Donna filled in, did a great job, and she'll do that more and more, so you won't have to see my ugly puss week in and week out. Anyway, let's get right to the headlines of the week. We mentioned it in our tease of the show concerning how the city is dealing with the opioid epidemic. And this week, the city announced an agreement between the city and the police union to actually have police officers out on the beat carry the drug Narcan, which, of course, many of you may know, helps offset the effects of an opioid overdose. Fill in the details on this, Will.
Sure. It's been quite some time now that it seems the city has been negotiating with the police officers union to get Narcan in their hands. It appears they have been training in that time frame before an agreement was reached. We are certainly still waiting as well to find out what this agreement entails. If the police are now carrying it, is there something that will be coming back their way, or there's some form of benefits or something in their contract that's going to support them on this level. But they are certainly, it's now in their hands. It has been in the hands of EMS and fire crews who have responded. So it's not as though the city has been without the use of Narcan, which is the opioid sort of antidote, overdose antidote.
Now, normally when city or officials negotiate with unions to change their contract, that's what actually this is here, right? Because there is need to be a change in the police union contract to allow them to administer this if they're the first responder, literally the first responder to a scene?
Yeah, it would seem, this is a change in responsibilities of duties that the police would be responsible for. Generally, those kinds of duties are pretty well laid out within contracts, unless it's the sort of regular responsibilities of a police officer. But it seems as though they had to go through the negotiation route to get this done.
And normally there will be some, as any negotiation, there'll be some give and take for the city wanting the police officers to be able to administer this Narcan. The police union is probably looking for something again in return, and as you mentioned, those details still have not been released. Any word on when that would be released? Would it be contingent upon the union approving this?
Well, it seems that it was mentioned that the agreement to get the Narcan into the officers' hands was being made right up until the 4:30 press conference on Tuesday. So it would seem, that it may be a matter of things have not been signed. There may be a handshake agreement at this point, but that it's something that we are following up on to try to find out just when or if this has been finalized.
Okay, let's move on now. This week as well, some good news for those in the economic development realm who are looking forward to the restructuring of Route 79 here on the waterfront of Fall River. Mass DOT this week announced that they are going to be providing this project as part of their 5-year capital plan, which is going to be beginning in the next fiscal year. This is something, Will, that has been talked about for quite some time, making Route 79 more of a boulevard and making it more attractive to attracting people to the waterfront. And this looks like this is the next step, and it looks like we're going to be moving forward.
Yeah, this would be the phase 2 of the project, moving on beyond what everyone sees the work happening now. So this would certainly be intended to open up more space in the northern area of Route 79. This is kind of the spot between the old Brightman Street Bridge and the City Pier. So the idea is this would flatten out Route 79, create a more of a boulevard effect, and hopefully result in about 10 acres of land being opened up for development purposes.
And what's the timeline for this? Obviously, it's part of a 5-year plan. So has there been any determination on when we may be able to see some actual work down there on this?
Well, certainly it appears from the announcement the other day that Mass DOT is saying they are in favor of this project. At this point, the money would be included in their 5-year capital improvement plan, which is still being finalized. I don't believe that plan has been voted on and completed, so we will have to kind of wait and see timeline-wise just when this money will be released, and then we can let the work begin.
So obviously it's a step forward, but still not the final step in this process, but still good news for those who have been looking to, again, make that more of a boulevard area, more green space to tie in the city to the waterfront. So that'll be moving forward, and we'll be following that as the weeks and months move ahead. Shifting gear to back to other economic development issues, the state this week gave its okay to the TIF agreement that will allow Market Basket and some other companies to take over the former Harbor Mall site in the far south end of Fall River. So again, looks like this project is going to be green lighted and moving forward.
Yeah, this would seem to be one of the final steps in sort of the paperwork process to get this redeveloped. While this project only involves local tax breaks, if you look to the Amazon project as sort of a model here, they went before the same state board to receive state tax breaks. But once they received those tax breaks, that sort of green lighted the construction process to begin. So I think as we start to see, Kmart has been liquidating their assets within the store down there.
Right.
I believe there's one other remaining store that's been selling off everything as they prepare to move across the street to one of the plazas down in that area. But very shortly, all the existing tenants there in that plaza and in the old New Harbor Mall will be closed down, and it would seem work will start to begin very soon, hopefully.
Yeah, so that's good. Good things. Good always to see progress taking place in the cities, and this is another one of those areas. Speaking of progress, as we know, those of us who've been in the South Coast for quite some time, there's been talk for quite some time about locating casinos in the South Coast area, southeastern Massachusetts, and the Massachusetts Gaming Commission held a meeting today to continue that discussion. For those of you who don't know, there is a proposal from the city of Brockton to locate a commercial casino in their city, while simultaneously the Wampanoag Indians are looking to locate a casino in Taunton. I believe last week there was discussion at the Gaming Commission about the Wampanoag proposal. This week, the Brockton officials and those interested in the Brockton proposal came forward to discuss their alternatives. There is still a possibility, Will, that we can have 2 casinos in our region.
There certainly is, and yeah, the Brockton developers went before the Gaming Commission earlier today. They have claimed that the existence of both casinos will not be a problem for the region. The Wampanoag tribe recently came out with their own study that says the state would lose about $28 million in revenue if both casinos were to be permitted. So certainly the Gaming Commission is looking at a mid-April sort of time frame to make a determination on the Brockton proposal.
Right.
And this will come as well with the sort of unknown aspect of lawsuits against the tribe's proposal, their claims of the land in Taunton, and some skepticism voiced by the Brockton developers that the tribe actually has the finances to be able to get the project done in Taunton.
Right. What's important to note, and I think you can clear it up for me here, that the only proposal that's really before the Gaming Commission is the Brockton proposal, because that's the only project that they have oversight on. The Wampanoag is a federal issue in terms of their sovereign land, so that falls under different jurisdiction. Is that correct?
That is correct. The only effect that really the Taunton casino would have based on state law is that if a casino is approved in Brockton or anywhere else in the region, then the amount of gaming revenue that goes back to the state from the tribal casino would be 0,
Correct.
as compared to 17% if they are the only existing
Right.
casino in the region.
All right. So casino gaming still on our radar, and we'll continue to follow it. Okay, Will, what's going on at the paper this holiday weekend? It is Easter weekend.
Yeah, well, Sunday, sort of similar to you guys, we have an interview with Bishop DeCuna. We've talked to him. He's been in the diocese here for about a year and a half now or so. So we caught up with him to see what the challenges he's been facing in the diocese I've been, how his impressions of the area are, and sort of what his plan is going forward. We're also taking a look at the 2015 Fall River crime stats, which show where things are trending in Fall River. And if you haven't had a chance yet, we've got a quiz up. If you think you know about crime in Fall River, head over to Herald News and take the quiz, see just how much you really know.
I know. Probably most of us don't know as much as we think we know. So, all right, Will, thanks again. We'll talk next week.
All right, have a good weekend.
All right, we'll have more of FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some positions on the newest hot job list for the week of March 21st through March 27th. Commercial Portfolio Manager, job number 704-0025. Salad and Sandwich Maker, job number 705-2680. Mental Health Outpatient Clinical Social Worker, job number 707-2605. YMCA Welcome Center Associate, job number 705-6327. Product Development Scientist, job number 707-2727. Trade Marketing Manager, job number 705-3071. For more information, visit frcmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker recently signed legislation that allows the creation of laws that would limit the amount of opioid medications medical health care workers prescribe to patients. The bill is designed to lessen the amount of opioid medications prescribed in a bid to curb the possibility of patients becoming addicted to these drugs. As discussed with Will Richmond, Mayor Correa has worked out with the police union a policy that would allow officers to carry Narcan, a drug that reverses the effects of an opioid overdose, and in most cases saves the lives of victims. Donna Mata delved deeper into this evolving story.
Governor Charles Baker recently signed legislation that would allow state lawmakers to institute changes to the way opioid medications are prescribed to patients. In a recent interview with FRC Media News, State Senator Mike Rodrigues explained the purpose behind the legislation.
Governor Baker very emotionally signed the opioid bill that the House and the Senate spent months working on, very, very complicated, focused on the prescriber community, because so often those people that are addicted to heroin start with becoming addicted to legally prescribed opiate pain medications. And the legislation does things, for instance, as limiting your initial prescription for opiates to only a 7-day supply. It forces you to go back to the physician to get another supply, so you don't get a 30 or 60-day supply. Requires physicians to look at the prescription monitoring program, because we required last session that we established this PMP so that prescriptions notate in a public notation that are, well, public, it's only viewed by other physicians, so that if Dr. Fiola is prescribing OxyContin or Percocet and they come to Dr. Rodrigues or Dr. Mata, they're not doctor shopping to get their opiates. So we're very, very happy. We focused last year on treatment options and requiring insurance companies to pay for post-detox step-down treatment, eliminating the requirement that you get pre-approval before you get into a detox situation. Now this bill focuses on the prescribing end.
Along another vein, Mayor Jazel Correa II announced at a news conference this week that city police officers will be trained on how to use Narcan, a drug administered through the nasal passages of addicts who have overdosed on heroin and other opioid drugs. We spoke with Michael Aguiar, the city's grants writer, who is involved in helping to ease the drug problem inherent in our community.
And we find through our data that a lot of people are starting through pain medications, prescription drugs. And in my opinion, that's really ground zero for us. You know, changing prescriber practices, having prescribers sign into the prescription monitoring program so people can't doctor shop and get multiple prescriptions in one day and things like that. We need policy changes, which the hospitals have done very, very a good job doing that, limiting the number of prescription medications you can actually walk out of the ER with before seeing your own physician. So I think a lot of it has to do with educating prescribers too. I think we'd all be surprised if we knew prescribers don't really have the education on substance abuse that we think they have, and I think STAR has done a great job. St. Anne's has done a great job of educating prescribers. They've been doing it for a few years. They've educated hundreds of them. They have another one coming up soon. So that's really where we're kind of focusing right now. We do have, the city of Fall River has a grant to educate and work with high school age students on prescription drugs, which include opioids, and we know that's where a lot of young people start, is with prescription, because they don't see that as harmful. It's not like heroin. Heroin has a certain connotation to it, certain dirtiness, if you will, but if you're looking at a pharmaceutical drug, they don't see the harm in that because it's clean and it's from a doctor, so they don't really see that, and that's how a lot of our young people get addicted.
For FRC Media News, I'm Donna Mata.
The Route 79 Duval Street project has been given the green light to move forward as Mass DOT officials this week announced that they've included this work as part of its $14.3 billion 5-year capital campaign. This came as a welcome sign to the executive director of the Office of Economic Development, Ken Fiola, during a sit-down with our Donna Mata.
Ultimately, there'll be a reconfiguration of that section of Duval Street to create a waterfront boulevard, which will then in turn open up 10 to 12 acres of developable land, which will then in turn represent probably close to 700 market rate apartments, 400,000 to 500,000 square feet of commercial, office, and retail development, as well as tremendously enhanced accessibility to the waterfront. So if everything goes accordingly, we will start 25% design and permitting in the next 60, 90 days, have that done within a 2-year period to 2.5-year period, and then go into construction for that phase, which is probably a 3-year construction phase, probably representing about $50 million of money to get that completed. But then that will be the final step along the total revitalization of the waterfront.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
This is Malachite. He's a 2 to 3-year-old male Chihuahua mix. He's really sweet, but he loves other dogs, especially female dogs. He's somewhat shy though. When you go to touch his head real quick, he sometimes will duck because he's nervous, but if you go slow with him and he learns to trust you, he's really sweet. He loves to play with toys. He's just a really good boy. You can come see him at Forever Paws at 300 Linwood Street.
This is Kitty Cat. She's a 10-year-old female. She's very sweet. It would make a wonderful companion to anyone. She loves to snuggle and just sit with you and be pet. You can come see her at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
The Bristol County Advocacy Center, which serves the greater Fall River area, is holding a fundraiser, as we hear in this report with Executive Director of the Child Abuse Prevention Agency, Michelle Laranger.
Tell us about this tasty and rather fun event coming up for your agency.
Each year, the Children's Advocacy Center hosts a hot wing eating contest, and we do this to kick off April, which is Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. As the Child Sexual Abuse Agency in all of the county, we want to engage our partners in law enforcement and our first responders to help us have a little bit of fun, kick off awareness. And so we have the Fall River Police Department and the Fall River Fire Department competing against their colleagues in New Bedford. And this is a 6-year standing competition. Will be at White's of Westport, and it's open to the public. Everyone is invited. It is a fantastic, fun night with many local law enforcement teams competing against each other in a hot wing eating relay.
And how hot are the hot wings?
Well, they have to eat 4 or 5 of them, so Whites of Westport makes that determination about how much they're going to have fire-breathing policemen and fire-breathing firemen each year. I get to stay out of that.
And this is a fundraiser, correct?
It is. The Children's Advocacy Center is a private nonprofit 501c3, and we are very dependent upon the public support of all of Bristol County to continue our good services for kids and families.
Very good. Thank you very much. For FRC Media News, I'm Donna Mata.
Finally, with Holy Week upon us, Donna Mata had the pleasure of speaking with Fall River Bishop Edgar DeCunha, who gives our community this Easter Sunday message.
Well, I think first of all, we want everyone to be aware and to remind ourselves of how important it is to take the time this week to reflect and pray on all the things that God has done for us and all the things that we are in need, that our world is in need, in a very troubled world that we live in. I think that taking the time to pray and to reflect and to honor the death of Jesus and what he did for us is so important for families, is so important for us because we all get caught up. People get caught up in a busy life, families, young people, and sometimes the role of God in their lives, the role of the faith in their lives, the role of prayer in their lives, going to church becomes secondary. And because of that, I think that's why we have so many trouble in our world. So I wish that people would take time this week to reflect and pray, to give thanks to God and to acknowledge the importance of faith and of God in our lives.
That's it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. But as always, our online resource is available 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. We will leave you this week to enjoy this holiday weekend by sharing some Easter egg decorating tips, courtesy of the BCC Culinary Arts Department. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great holiday. We'll see you next week.
Now tell me, what's the first step?
The first step is what they call blowing the egg. You poke a hole into the egg and you take out all our egg yolk and everything out of here. And we get all this out. We seal the bottom, and anywhere what color we would want, we put a wax. So they're heating up these little kiskas, and they put, it looks like black on it, and that'll be where it's white. Then I'll put it in a color. And you work light to dark. And at whatever color you would put it in, you'd add more wax and on. To at the end, you have this big black looking ball. Then we just warm it up, and as we warm it up, you'll see all the beautiful colors.
Oh, so there is obviously a process to it. And is it wax?
It's beeswax because it's cleaner and to work with and much warmer to melt off. So, in fact, this beeswax we get from Westport in our area.
Oh, that's nice, actually. So it's real beeswax.
Real beeswax, and it becomes a technique, and it's a lot of fun. And like here, this is a goose egg. We have duck eggs, and it's almost any type of eggs. You'll see them beautiful ones with ostrich eggs, but it takes like months to do an egg on that one.
Very good, Gloria. Thank you so much. For FRC Media News, I'm Donna Mata.